Next section today is titled Solve Using Zero Product Property. First question, in parentheses x minus 7 and a second parentheses x minus 3 equals 0. For this question we have one parentheses times another parentheses equals 0. The zero product property says if you have one number times another number that equals 0, either one of these numbers or either one parentheses could be equal to 0. So to solve this, we'll take the first parentheses, set that equal to 0, and also take the second parentheses and set that equal to 0. Solving each one, we'll have two answers for the question. First question, we can add 7 to both sides. So x is equal to 7. Second question, we can add 3 to both sides. So x is equal to 3. So two answers for this question, x equals 7 and x equals 3. Second question and last question for this section is x, and in parentheses 2x minus 9 equals 0. Again, we have one number or one term times another one equals to 0, which means either one of these could be equal to 0. The first one, x, is equal to 0, and the parentheses 2x minus 9 equals 0. The first one solved, x equals 0, would be the first possible answer. And the second equation, to get rid of the minus 9, we can add 9 to both sides. 2x equals 9. And dividing by 2, we have a fraction x equals 9 over 2. So again, two answers, x equals 0 and x equals 9 over 2. Title last section today is Factor, and then solve by zero product property. First question for the section, x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. When we have a trinomial, x squared plus 3x minus 4, and we want to factor that, it's what we did in the previous chapter by solving the diamond or with the x. The last number, negative 4, goes on top of the x, and the middle number 3 goes on bottom of the x. We want to find two numbers that again multiply to get this top number, and the same two numbers add to get the bottom number. So two numbers that multiply to get negative 4, and these same two numbers add to get positive 3. Those numbers would be 4 and negative 1. 4 times negative 1 would be negative 4, and 4 plus a negative 1, which is the same thing as 4 minus 1, would be 3. If you remember, you put these answers in parentheses. Still using the x, and a positive 4 would be x plus 4. And the second parentheses with the negative 1 would be x minus 1. Equals 0 from above. And just like before, we have two parentheses. We can set those each equal to 0 and solve from there. The first parentheses, we can subtract 4. So x would equal negative 4. Second parentheses, we can add 1, and x would equal 1. Second problem for the section. X squared minus 9 equals 0. For this factoring, when you have x squared minus a number, if you remember, we can take the square root of this number. So our factored form would be in two parentheses, x in each one. The square root of 9 would be 3. So the first parentheses will have positive 3, and the second parentheses we can make negative with a minus 3. Equals 0 from above. And again, set each one of these equal to 0, and then we can solve and get the two answers. Subtracting 3 on both sides, x would equal negative 3. And adding 3 on both sides, x would equal positive 3. Last question for the section. N squared equals 6n. To solve this question, we want both variables on the same side. So we can subtract 6n. We'll have n squared minus 6n equals 0. Factoring, we can take an n out of each of these. Dividing by n, we'll be left with n minus 6. And again, set each of these equal to 0. We'll have n equals 0 and n minus 6 equals 0. First one solved already, and the second one we can add 6 to both sides, and we'll have n is equal to 6.